Hello you guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would come and give you a bladder update. I'm actually just drinking a cup of, I was going to say coffee, but it's not. I'm going to show you about that in a moment, but a bladder update because I don't think I've talked about it for a while. As you may or may not know, I have been diagnosed with painful bladder syndrome, which is the new name for interstitial cystitis. I was originally diagnosed with overactive bladder, and then after I had my urodynamics, it was again eventually confirmed to be painful bladder syndrome, not overactive bladder syndrome. And I had actually suspected that myself and told them that over the years. So I was happy to eventually get the right diagnosis. I was offered Elmeron as one of the things that I could take. It was a tablet that I was given. And I did actually take it to the pharmacist to fulfill the prescription, but I had no intention of taking it because I looked and there was a lot of side effects. And I didn't feel like I was in, you always have to weigh up the risks and the benefits. And I didn't feel like I was in so much pain that I was ready to try anything the way I am with my migraines. There was a time when I felt like that, probably when I was 33. So what's that, 17 years ago nearly, 16 years ago. There was a time I felt absolutely desperate. I was in so much pain. I didn't know how I could go on, you know, living a kind of life doing things that I needed to do, like just leaving the house, you know, having a normal relationship. I couldn't ride a bike. I couldn't wear jeans. There was a lot that I couldn't do, and I was in pain all of the time. But I wasn't like that now. It was just night times were a concern because I was constantly up going to the bathroom. And then if I went out on a dog walk to somewhere that didn't have a bathroom, that could cause a problem. And it did cause me a lot of pain. But, you know, these things were kind of manageable most of the time. So the reason I had gone to fill the prescription was because I felt that if I didn't, I wouldn't get the next steps. And the next steps were I was to have this, what was the name? I can't remember the name of the surgery. It was a surgery where they basically scrape off a bit of the lining, bladder. I'll try and remember and put it on the screen. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it, but it sounded pretty horrific. And then if that didn't work, I could have Botox in the bladder. The problem with these two different surgeries were that firstly, there was horrendous side effects that I had read about on forums and whatnot, and they needed to be redone quite often, and they're quite big surgeries, you know, and it's just not something that I, again, felt that I was in enough pain to go through these things. So I did two things, one of which I've talked to you about, and it was that I took these cold pressed extra virgin pumpkin seed oil capsules. I take one of these every single night. They are very big capsules. And sometimes I take two of them. Then I had taken them all and I ran out of them and didn't take them for a while. And this has happened twice and things got worse. And so I will tell you that I 100% think these help. I talked about the research on this. I did a video on that and talked about the research behind it. It definitely, there's research, there's evidence behind these helping, the pumpkin seed. And I find that to be the case. I will not go without this. And I've tried so many supplements over the years, you know, and sort of tried them and then not bothered with them again. But I'm definitely sticking to these. And in fact, if I feel like my bladder is in any pain at all, I'll take two of these. I think the dose is probably 2. Serving size 2 quick release soft gels. Yeah, take 2, 1 to 2 times daily. So you can actually take 4 of these a day and maybe get an even better result. It says on here, supports prostate and urinary health. Highly recommend these. I'll link them for you in the description. The other thing that I did is I stopped drinking, pretty much stopped drinking caffeine. So I already would only have 1 or 2, normally 2 cups of tea in the morning with a normal tea bag. I would occasionally have a coffee. If I had coffee, I had decaffeinated coffee. And then for the rest of the day, I would drink Red Bush tea bags or Caro. That's what I'm drinking just now. I'm drinking Caro. It's nothing like coffee. If you're really into strong coffee, you won't like this. I've always liked really mild coffee, you know, really weak coffee. So my husband actually says, do you want a coffee? You know, because he's like, that's not really coffee. But what I decided was I would change to decaffeinated tea bags to have in the morning. So my first 2 cups of tea are now decaffeinated tea bags. And something that maybe you're not aware of, I know I told my dad's wife this and she couldn't believe it. She drank decaffeinated tea. And I said, you know that it does still have caffeine in it? She couldn't believe it. It's decaffeinated, it's not caffeine free. And it's the same with decaffeinated coffee, it still has caffeine in it. So I have tried to eliminate as much caffeine in my life as possible. I drink a lot of Diet Cola, but I only drink the caffeine-free stuff. I wouldn't drink anything that wasn't caffeine-free. I've made a couple of mistakes. For example, if we go to McDonald's, which is rare, but if we do, I would normally have a Diet Coke. And if that was like at lunchtime, of course, that's going to have caffeine in it. I eat a lot of dark chocolate, which does have caffeine in it, and I'm trying to reduce that. But I now have the decaffeinated tea instead of the full tea. So I've tried to reduce, I suppose. I've tried to reduce and eliminate as much as I possibly can. And that has made a big difference as well, I think. I can tell because another mistake I made is I had a latte. I can't remember where we were, but Kev and I were coming back from somewhere and in the afternoon we had a latte. And I remember feeling the difference that night. Like I had to get up and out of bed more than I usually would. So between the pumpkin seed oil and the reduction in caffeine, that alone has made a huge difference. And I'm not following the Bladder diet. I'm not avoiding citruses. I'm not avoiding spices. You know, all of that is a part of my life, but I'm taking pumpkin seed oil and avoiding caffeine as much as I possibly can. If I do have any caffeine, so like my decaffeinated tea bags or my decaffeinated coffee, it's before lunchtime. So before midday, I'll have that, and nothing after midday. I definitely wouldn't have any caffeine. Even my dark chocolate, I'm only having that. Well, I suppose it's 12:30. So I have my lunch at 12 and then I'll have a few pieces of dark chocolate afterwards, and then nothing later on. So I thought I'd come and tell you that because I think that will be hopefully useful too. I have some heartbreaking comments on my Bladder videos saying that, you know, you guys are going through the same as me, and I would urge you to try the pumpkin seed. Really try and cut down on caffeine. And also remember I did that video on the spray. That is something that can give you pain relief, you know. But also keep going back to your doctor and advocating for yourself and saying, I'm in pain, I can't live my life, you need to give me something, you know. And hopefully that will help. So for me, as I said, the next step was this surgery, and I actually got a call to ask if I could have the surgery. It was like they called me on a Tuesday to have it that Saturday, and I said to them that I had decided not to have this surgery, and they did explain to me then what I already knew, that if I didn't have that surgery I would be discharged from the service. The problem with the NHS is that if you do not follow a certain set of rules, you can't get the treatment. So for example, I couldn't just say, I don't want that, but I want the Botox. I would have to go privately now to get the Botox. So there'd have to be a very good reason why I couldn't have the other surgery, you know. It's the same with my migraines. You have to follow a path. In order to get this, you have to have tried this. In order to get the next step, you need to, you know, I couldn't have said, I don't want Botox, I'd like you to give me the Adjuvig or Aimovig injection. They wouldn't do that because I haven't followed their pathway. So I refused that surgery, and so I have now been discharged from urology, and will only go back if everything's get really bad. You know, I've now just kind of resigned myself to, I will be in really bad pain sometimes when there isn't an available toilet. It's not too bad when we're out walking Watson because normally there's a tree I can go behind, and I've got pretty good at doing that very quickly and discreetly, you know. Oh, actually, one other thing I've been doing is bladder training as well. I do try to do that as often as I can when I'm in the house. So if I'm in the house and I'm like, oh, I need a wee, I will try and wait as long as possible because that does help train your bladder and make things better, you know. But yeah, that's me off the service. So that's me kind of just hoping things stay as they are, and that I don't need to go back to them. So yeah, that's everything for today. I hope that you guys are well. Any questions, please feel free to leave them below and I'll do my very best to answer them. And that's everything. I'll speak to you again soon.